Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Kenny T, Kilo Tango Aviation, KT baby. We out here. So I'm gonna tell you how I paid for flight training to get from my private pilot certificate all the way up to being an airline pilot. Tell you how I did it, and I'm gonna give you some tips on how you can do it. Real life examples, so you know that I ain't just making this stuff up. When I give y'all information and give y'all tips, I'm giving you advice that I use myself. And I figured out myself when it came to doing this pilot thing. So first thing I did is I sold my stuff. Really, I sold my guns. I had a lot of guns from living in Texas, and when I moved to Georgia, I was trying to get flight training there. Even though I was working full time in the military, I didn't have no extra money because I also had a kid. So I got a kid I gotta take care of. I gotta feed. I gotta do all the things you do when you gotta take care of family. Because it was more important to fly than it was to have guns. And that paid for a good little portion of my private pilot certificate. And being in the military, we deployed. So I deployed, and when I would deploy, made extra money on deployment. So the extra money I made, I saved it. When I came back from deployment, I was putting that towards getting my private pilot certificate. Working, flying, knocking out the solo, knocking out my cross country, and getting it done. So Iraq, Afghanistan, paid for my private pilot certificate. Well, and my guns too. But I sold my stuff and I did extra work. For my instrument rating, I still had a little bit of GI Bill left that covered part of my instrument rating. So I used that, and that helped cover a portion of it. So I'm glad I still had a little bit left. I used most of it for getting my college degree, but a little bit left I had, and I threw that towards getting my instrument rating. So once I got past my instrument rating and it came to get my commercial rating and beyond, I had to save up money and then fly, because I didn't have enough money to fly, take a break, and I knew it wasn't efficient. So I flew, but it really wasn't consistent until I was able to save up a good amount of money and just start cranking it out. So I saved up money and I really budgeted. I didn't buy a lot of extra stuff. I was like, I gotta save up to get these hours, get these ratings. And then when it came time for me to get out of the military and pursue flying full time, I had to make some real big life changes. So one thing was, I didn't have a new car. I had a used Nissan Altima that I bought cash. Didn't buy a new car because I was like, that's an extra bill. I didn't want to do that. Made sure I had a good budget and stayed out of debt between that point. The other thing I did was I moved from living in a house to living in an apartment. I was like, lower the expenses as much as I could, because I needed to be able to fly and not have no extra bills I had to pay, and still be able to support my family. I sold the investments I had in order to pay for flight training. I had some money saved up in Bitcoin, and it did well during the time. So I sold it, and that helped cover, my CFI and a little bit extra. So didn't spend a lot of money, was budgeting, sold the investments I had, and lowered my living expenses. So once I had my CFI, I was on my way and I was doing well. So in the military, I had work trip where I had to go to training, and we were getting per diem. Well, some people, when they get extra per diem for extended period of time, they tend to spend that on eating steak dinners, eating lobster, crab legs. Nah, I was still eating ramen noodles. I took all that extra money from per diem while I was in training and put that towards getting my CFII, my MEI, my multi-engine, and my MEI. So I took the extra money I got, instead of balling out, I used that to get these ratings. Big picture, that's what I did. That's how I got my ratings. And that's how I spent my money on it, or how I paid for flight training. So here's some tips I'm gonna give you just based off of what I did that should help you be able to pay for flight training. If you're in debt, get out of debt before you even start trying to talk about flight training. Get out of debt, keep good credit, price it out and see how much it's actually gonna cost you to do it. And give yourself like a realistic timeline when you're gonna start. Sometimes you gotta delay it in order to be able to get what you want. It took me many years to be able to get all my ratings done, but that was just realistic for where I was at in life. So if you got a family, if you got things you got to do, you might have to time out. You might have to be like, I'm gonna start in a year, 2 years, whatever it is, but actually save up so that you can get to it. You can look at scholarships, but if you're over the age of 20, 21, you're probably not gonna have too many scholarship options. And even if you do, it's not gonna cover all your training. It might cover one rating, but you can't base that on covering everything. If you get scholarships, biggest thing, you wanna make sure that you understand with the organization. Get your application in early, get a letter of recommendation from somebody reputable, and have somebody review it for you. Now, you can pay as you go with flight training, but I recommend saving up and knocking it out. Especially if you're on your private. After your private, pay, fly as much as you can, but you got to be able to knock it out in order to really make real progress. Get a loan for flight training if you can. Those are really good, but you got to have good credit. And you got to already have your money in order so that you can focus on just flying, and that's it. If you can't focus on just flying, you got to find another way. You'll be able to focus on flying most of the time and work part-time if you got other responsibilities, but the biggest key to that is lower your expenses, make a budget, and plan to have money saved up to take care of your expenses. That's what I would do. And the thing is, you got to just, cut some corners, save some money. If you're like, man, I got to buy me these J's, a pair of J's is a flight. So you want to be fly, you want to fly. You got to choose. You want to fly, you want to fly. Cross country is about 2 or 3 pairs of J's. And that's crazy, but that's just what it is. So it's expensive. And you got to just come to grips that it's going to cost you a lot of money in order to get here. Because I tell you what, once you become an airline pilot, you can buy all the J's you want. Don't even worry about it. So spare the J's for now, buy the J's later. Remember, it's a long-time commitment. Commit to it, and you can make it happen. I did it. I'm proof right here. We out here. KT.